What if I told you that the worst things happening around you don't actually have to touch you? That no matter how chaotic life gets, there's a way to stay completely unshaken, and it's not what you think. Most people spend their lives reacting to bad news, to other people's moods, to things they can't control. But what if you could train yourself to act, not react? To move through the world like a rock in a storm, solid, steady, untouched. That's not just some old idea, it's a way of living that changes everything. The wall between you and the world. Imagine standing in the middle of a crowded street. People rush past you, shouting, arguing, laughing, some even bumping into you without a second thought. But here's the thing. You don't have to let any of it in. Not the noise, not the chaos, not the energy of others. You can build a wall. Not a physical one, not one made of brick or steel, but something far stronger, an invisible barrier around your mind. This wall isn't about shutting people out. It's not about becoming cold or distant. It's about control. It's about deciding with absolute certainty that nothing enters your inner world unless you allow it. Every insult thrown your way, every piece of bad news, every setback, it hits that wall and stops there. It doesn't reach you, it doesn't shake you. Because the moment you understand that you alone decide what affects you, everything changes. Think of it like this. When a storm rages outside, you don't stand in the middle of it, letting the wind and rain batter you. You step inside. You close the door. The storm still happens, but now it's outside and you're untouched. That's what this wall does. It's the difference between being at the mercy of the world and standing firm in your own peace. How do you build this wall? It starts with a single decision, a choice you make every morning, every moment. You wake up and say, today I control what touches me. And then you enforce it. Someone tries to drag you into an argument. The wall stops it. Bad news tries to pull you into worry. The wall stops it. The world throws its chaos at you. The wall stops it. But here's what most people get wrong. They think this wall is about suppression. It's not. It's about selection. You're not ignoring reality. You're not pretending things don't happen. You're simply choosing with deliberate focus what deserves your energy and what doesn't. Because energy is finite. Attention is finite. And if you let every little thing in, soon there's nothing left for what truly matters. So how do you strengthen this wall? Practice. Every time something tries to break through, pause. Ask yourself, does this serve me? Does this help me? Does this deserve my focus? If not, let it hit the wall and fall away. Over time it becomes second nature. The noise of the world fades into the background, and you remain steady, unmoved. Because here's the truth, nothing has power over you unless you give it power. Not circumstances, not other people's opinions, not even your own fleeting emotions. The wall reminds you of that. It's your shield, your boundary, your declaration that you are in control. And once you master this, something incredible happens. You realize that most of what you thought was important, most of what used to upset you, distract you, pull you off course, was never worth your energy in the first place. The wall doesn't just protect you. It clarifies everything. The 24-hour rule. There's a moment right after something bad happens, when everything feels urgent, when your first instinct is to react, to fix, to respond immediately. But that's exactly when you should do nothing. Wait, give yourself 20, not to dwell, not to panic, but to let the dust settle. Here's why. Most of what feels like an emergency isn't. Most of what seems like a disaster today won't matter tomorrow. And if you react in that first rush of emotion, you'll almost always make the wrong move. But if you wait, if you let those 24 hours pass, something shifts. The heat fades, the clarity comes, and suddenly you see the situation for what it really is. This isn't about avoidance. It's about mastery. It's about recognizing that time is your greatest ally in making the right decision. Because when emotions run high, judgment runs low, and the worst choices are made in those heated moments, when everything feels like it's falling apart. So how does it work? Simple. The moment something happens that shakes you, Whether it's bad news, a conflict, a setback, you pause, you take a breath, and you tell yourself, I will not react for 24 hours. In that time, you do nothing about it. You don't argue, you don't retaliate, you don't rush to fix it, you just wait. And here's what you'll notice. By the next day, the urgency is gone. The problem either doesn't seem as big as it did, or you see the solution clearly, because time does something powerful. It separates what's real from what's just noise. Now, this doesn't mean you ignore real problems. It means you refuse to let them control you. You refuse to be pulled into impulsive reactions that only make things worse. Instead, you respond with intention, with calm, with the kind of clarity that only comes when you've stepped back and let the storm pass. Think of it like a muddy river. When you stir it up, everything is cloudy. You can't see the bottom, but if you let it sit, the dirt settles, and the water becomes clear again. That's what these 24 hours do. They let the emotions settle so you can see the truth. And when you do act, it's different. It's not a reaction, it's a choice. A deliberate move from a place of strength, not fear. That's the power of the 24-hour rule. It turns chaos into control, because in the end, the strongest people aren't those who react the fastest. They're the ones who know when to wait. The mirror test. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must decide what is truly worth their attention. The world is full of distractions, full of people who will try to pull you into their storms, their conflicts, their endless drama. But here is the question you must ask yourself before you engage, before you invest even a single drop of your energy into anything. Will this matter a year from now? Close your eyes and picture it. A year from today, where will you be? What will you be doing? Who will still be in your life? Now look at whatever problem or conflict is in front of you right now. Does it have a place in that future? Or will it be long forgotten, buried under the weight of time? Just another meaningless moment that once felt urgent, but now holds no power. Most things fail this test. Most arguments, most disagreements, most of the things that people try to drag you into, they are temporary. They are sparks that burn out quickly, leaving nothing behind but wasted time and drained energy. And yet, how often do we give these things our full attention? How often do we allow ourselves to be pulled into battles that don't serve us, that don't move us forward, that don't contribute to the life we are trying to build? The answer is too often, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can train yourself to see beyond the immediate moment. You can develop the habit of stepping back, of looking at every situation not through the lens of emotion, but through the lens of time. When someone tries to pull you into their chaos, pause. Ask yourself, if I walk away from this right now, will it matter in a year? If the answer is no, and it almost always is, then let it pass. Let it go like a shadow moving across the ground, present for a moment, then gone without a trace. This is not avoidance. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. This is the understanding that your energy, your focus, your peace, these are the most valuable things you possess. And you must guard them fiercely. You must refuse to waste them on things that do not deserve them. Because here is the truth. The people who succeed, the people who maintain their calm, the people who move through life with purpose, they are not the ones who react to everything. They are the ones who choose their battles. They are the ones who know that most battles are not worth fighting. They are the ones who save their strength for what truly matters. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their storm, remember the mirror test. Look into the future. See the bigger picture. And if it doesn't belong there, let it go. Your energy is for things that last. The art of selective deafness. You are surrounded by voices. Everywhere you go, people are speaking, sharing their opinions, their criticisms, their judgments. Some of these voices are helpful, some are not. And here is the key. You do not have to listen to all of them. In fact, you must not listen to all of them. This is the art of selective deafness. It is the ability to hear only what serves you, only what helps you grow, only what moves you forward, and to let everything else fade into the background like distant noise. Think of it like walking through a crowded market. There are hundreds of conversations happening at once. Laughter, arguments, bargaining, gossip. But you are not required to listen to every single one. You are not required to engage with every voice that reaches your ear. Instead, you focus on what matters to you. You tune in to the conversations that serve you, and you let the rest become part of the hum of life, present but unimportant. The same principle applies to the voices in your life, both the external ones and the internal ones. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every criticism requires your response. Not every piece of gossip needs to take up space in your mind. Most people do not realize how much power they give away by listening to everything. They allow every passing comment, every offhand remark, every negative word to enter their mind and take root. And then they wonder why they feel distracted, why they feel drained, why they struggle to focus on what truly matters. But you do not have to live that way. You can choose what you listen to. You can decide which voices get your attention and which ones you ignore. How? By developing discipline, by training yourself to pause before you absorb. When someone speaks, ask yourself, does this help me? Does this serve me? Does this align with the person I am trying to become? If the answer is no, then let it pass. Do not dwell on it. Do not replay it in your mind. Do not give it power over you. This is not about arrogance. It is not about dismissing others. It is about protecting your peace. It is about understanding that your mind is sacred space and not everything deserves entry. The most successful people in the world understand this. They do not waste time on useless arguments. They do not get pulled into petty dramas. They do not allow every passing opinion to sway them. They listen selectively. They focus on what matters. And they let the rest fade away. You can do the same. Start today. Pay attention to what you allow into your mind. Be ruthless in filtering out what does not serve you. And watch how much clearer, how much calmer, how much more powerful your life becomes when you master the art of selective deafness. 5. The pause before the storm. There exists in every human life a space between what happens to us and how we respond to it. This space may be small, sometimes no more than the time it takes to draw a single breath, but within it lies all the power you will ever need to master yourself and your circumstances. Most people never discover this space. They move directly from event to reaction, like a leaf caught in a strong wind, blown about without resistance. But you are not most people. You can learn to find this pause, to live in it, to use it as your advantage. Consider for a moment the last time you found yourself in conflict. Perhaps someone spoke words meant to provoke you. Perhaps circumstances unfolded in a way that tested your patience. In that moment, what did you do? Did you react immediately, giving in to the first surge of emotion? Or did you pause, allowing yourself that crucial breath between what was said and what you chose to say in return? This pause is not weakness. It is not avoidance. It is control of the highest order. When you pause, you step outside the immediate heat of the moment and into a place of clarity. From this place, you can see the situation for what it truly is, not as a threat that demands an instant response, but as an event that you have the power to shape through your action. The difference between those who are ruled by their circumstances and those who rule their circumstances lies entirely in this pause. The first group reacts without thought. The second responds with intention. One is controlled by the world, the other controls their experience of the world. Developing this pause requires practice. It begins with awareness, the simple recognition that between what you feel and what you do, there is always a choice. At first, the pause may feel unnatural. You may have to consciously remind yourself to take that breath, to count to 3, to step back mentally before engaging, but with time, it becomes second nature. The space widens, your clarity deepens, and what once would have sent you into turmoil now passes through you like water through a sieve, leaving you untouched. Remember, every great leader, every wise person, every individual who has ever mastered themselves has understood this principle. They knew that the true battle is never with the outside world, but with the impulses within. Win that battle and no external force can shake you. So the next time tension rises, When words are spoken that tempt you to anger, when situations unfold that test your patience, pause. Not to avoid, but to choose. In that choice lies your power. 6. The unbreakable routine. The world is chaos. Every day brings new challenges, unexpected events, forces beyond your control that seek to pull you from your path. Most people surrender to this chaos. They wake at different times, work when they feel like it, rest when they collapse from exhaustion. Their lives have no rhythm, no anchor, and so they are tossed about by every wind that blows. But you are not most people. There is a power in routine that few understand. It is not the dull, lifeless thing most imagine. True routine is the foundation upon which greatness is built. It is the daily repetition of actions that align with your purpose, performed with such consistency that no outside force can disrupt them. When you master routine, you become like the deep roots of an ancient tree, unshaken by the storms that break weaker things. Consider the rising of the sun. It does not appear at random. It follows a pattern so precise that you can predict its arrival centuries in advance. The tides obey a similar rhythm as do the seasons. Nature itself understands the power of routine. Why then should you, a thinking being capable of intention, live without it? Your routine begins with the simplest of things, the hour at which you wake. This is your first act of discipline, your first declaration that you, not circumstance, will dictate the shape of your day. From this single decision flows all others. You work at the same hours, not when whim strikes you. You rest with the same regularity, not when exhaustion forces you. Your meals, your study, your exercise, all follow the steady beat of a life lived with purpose. At first this may seem restrictive. You may chafe against the structure, longing for the freedom of unpredictability. But this is an illusion. What feels like freedom is actually surrender to distraction, to laziness, to every passing impulse that would lead you away from your goals. True freedom comes not from the absence of routine, but from the mastery of it. When your days follow a pattern of your own design, you are no longer at the mercy of chance. You become the author of your life. There will be days when the world tries to break your routine. People will demand your time at odd hours. Circumstances will arise that tempt you to abandon your schedule. This is the test. The weak will yield, believing they must adapt to every shifting wind. The strong will hold to their rhythm, knowing that to sacrifice routine is to sacrifice control. Your routine is your armor against chaos. It is the unbreakable structure that allows you to focus your energy where it matters most. Guard it, refine it, and watch as the world, instead of pulling you from your path, begins to arrange itself around your unwavering course. For when you move through life with such consistency, something remarkable happens. What once required effort becomes effortless. What once demanded willpower becomes second nature, and you become, in the truest sense, unshakable. The power of silence. There is a force more powerful than words, more convincing than arguments, more unshakable than the most passionate speech. This force is silence. Not the silence of weakness, not the silence of fear, but the silence of complete mastery over oneself. When you understand this silence, when you make it your ally, you will find that most battles are won without ever entering them. Consider how most people move through the world. They feel compelled to respond to every challenge, to answer every insult, to engage in every argument that comes their way. They believe that to be silent is to concede, to be quiet is to admit defeat. But this is the thinking of those who do not understand true power. The loudest voice in the room is rarely the strongest. The person who must constantly defend their position is usually the least secure in it. Now consider another way. When words are spoken to provoke you, and you do not respond, what happens? The words hang in the air unanswered. The person who spoke them is left with nothing to push against. Their energy, meant to draw you into conflict, finds no purchase. They may continue for a time, but like a fire without fuel, their anger will burn itself out. Meanwhile, you remain untouched. Your silence is not empty. It is full of meaning. It communicates that you cannot be baited, that your peace is not so easily disturbed, that you operate on a level where such things simply do not reach you. This is not to say that silence should always be your response. There are times when words are necessary, when boundaries must be set, when truth must be spoken, but these moments are far rarer than most people think. The majority of conflicts that drain people's energy day after day are meaningless, serving no purpose other than to distract from what truly matters. Your silence in these moments is not passive. It is a deliberate choice to conserve your strength for battles worth fighting. How does one cultivate this power of silence? It begins with recognizing the urge to respond, that immediate reaction that rises in your chest when challenged, and choosing instead to let it pass. At first, this will feel unnatural. You will feel the pressure to speak, to defend, to explain. But with practice, you will come to see that this pressure is an illusion. The world does not end when you do not respond. In fact, something remarkable happens. You begin to see how much of what people say requires no answer at all. Their words are not about you, but about themselves, their own insecurities, their own need for engagement. When you do not provide it, you free yourself from endless cycles of conflict. There is another aspect to silence that few consider: the space it creates for true understanding. When you are not constantly filling the air with your own words, you become able to truly listen. You hear not just what people say, but what they mean. You perceive the nuances that others miss in their haste to respond. This gives you an insight into situations that the talkative can never achieve. So the next time you feel compelled to speak in anger, to defend against some slight, to engage in an argument that leads nowhere, pause. Consider the power of saying nothing. Let your silence be your answer. You will find that what once seemed like weakness is in fact the greatest strength of all. 8. The detachment drill. Imagine for a moment that your life is not something you are living, but something you are watching. Picture yourself sitting in a theater, observing the play of your days unfold on stage. The characters come and go, events rise and fall, conflicts emerge and resolve, but you, the observer, remain separate. This is the essence of detachment, and it is one of the most powerful tools you can cultivate for mastering your experience of life. Most people move through their days completely identified with every thought, every emotion, every circumstance that arises. When something good happens, they are elated. When something bad occurs, they are devastated. They have no space between themselves and their experiences, and so they are tossed about by every change in fortune. But there is another way. You can learn to observe your life without being consumed by it. This does not mean becoming cold or indifferent. It does not mean shutting yourself off from the richness of human experience. True detachment is not about feeling less. It is about being less controlled by what you feel. It is the ability to experience anger without being ruled by anger, to feel joy without being dependent on it, to face challenges without being overwhelmed by them. The practice is simple in concept, though challenging in execution. When emotions arise, when problems present themselves, when situations become intense, take a mental step back. Imagine yourself as that observer in the theater. See the situation as if it were happening to someone else. From this perspective, ask yourself, what is truly happening here? What are the facts, separate from my feelings about them? What would I advise someone else in this situation? What you will find is that most problems lose their weight when viewed this way. What seemed like a catastrophe becomes merely a circumstance. What felt like an unbearable burden becomes simply a challenge to be met. The emotions are still there, but they no longer control you. You can choose how to act rather than being driven by unconscious reaction. This detachment is not achieved overnight. It requires constant practice. Begin with small things. When minor annoyances arise, a delayed appointment, a rude comment, a change in plans, practice observing your reaction rather than becoming it. Notice the anger or frustration as it arises, but do not feed it. Over time, you will train your mind to maintain this space even in more difficult situations. There is a paradox here. The more detached you become, the more fully you can engage with life. When you are not constantly buffeted by every passing storm, you have more energy to devote to what truly matters. When you are not identified with every passing emotion, you can experience them more deeply without being overwhelmed. This is the gift of detachment, the ability to live fully in the world without being of it, to experience all that life offers without being enslaved by any of it, to observe the play of your days with wisdom, knowing that no single scene, no matter how dramatic, defines the whole. So begin today. When emotions rise, step back. When problems press in, observe them. Learn to see your life as both actor and audience. In this space between, you will find a freedom that most never know. 9. The immunity mindset. Life does not give you what you want. It gives you what you can withstand. Every difficulty, every setback, every moment of friction is not an obstacle to your peace. It is the forge in which your strength is made. Most people spend their days trying to avoid discomfort, running from challenge, shielding themselves from anything that might disturb their fragile equilibrium. But this is backwards thinking. You do not become strong by avoiding resistance. You become strong by meeting it head on and discovering you cannot be broken. Think of a sword being forged. The metal does not become sharp by being left alone. It is heated until it glows, hammered until its structure changes, quenched in water that hisses against its surface. Each blow from the hammer, each moment in the fire, each shock of the cooling liquid, these are not punishment. They are the process by which something ordinary becomes extraordinary. Without them, the blade would remain dull, weak, incapable of fulfilling its purpose. You are no different. The things that test you, the difficult people, the unexpected problems, the moments when everything seems to go wrong, these are not signs that life is against you. They are your fire, your hammer, your quenching water. Each time you face them without crumbling, you are not just surviving, you are being remade. This is the immunity mindset. It is not about pretending challenges don't exist. It is about welcoming them as opportunities to prove to yourself what you can bear. When someone speaks harshly to you, that is a test. Can you remain steady? When plans collapse, that is a test. Can you adapt? When fear rises, that is a test. Can you act despite it? Every time you answer yes, you expand your capacity. Every time you meet the challenge without being destroyed by it, you become more immune to the next one. The immunity mindset requires reframing how you see difficulty. Most people ask, why is this happening to me? The immune mind asks, what does this make possible for me? Most people see problems as stop signs. The immune mind sees them as training grounds. This is not mere positive thinking. It is practical alchemy, the transformation of leaden experiences into golden strength. The more you practice this, the more you will notice something remarkable. The same events that once would have shattered you now leave you unmoved. You have been tempered by previous fires, and new ones cannot burn you the same way. Start today. The next time something goes wrong, pause. Instead of reacting, ask, how is this making me stronger? What quality is this developing in me? Then meet it not as a victim, but as a student. Over time, you will find that what once seemed unbearable now barely registers. You have become immune not because the world changed, but because you did. 10. The final truth. Nothing has power over you. Here is the secret that changes everything. Nothing in this world has any power over you except what you give it. No event, no person, no circumstance can disturb your peace unless you first grant it permission to do so. This is not philosophy. This is the fundamental truth of how experience works. Consider two people facing the same situation. One is devastated. The other remains calm. What is the difference? Not the event itself, that is the same for both. The difference lies entirely in what each person has decided the event means. One has given it power, the other has not. Most people live as if the opposite were true. They believe their feelings are caused by the world around them. That person made me angry. That event ruined my day. That circumstance destroyed my peace. But this is an illusion. Your anger, your frustration, your peace, these are not caused by the world. They are your responses to it. And responses can be chosen. Think of it like this. If you walk down the street and a stranger shouts an insult, what happens? You might feel anger rise in you. But why? The words themselves have no power. They are just sounds in the air. The anger comes because you have accepted those words as meaningful, because you have given them weight in your mind. Now imagine you discover the stranger was mentally ill, shouting nonsense at everyone. Suddenly the same words might provoke pity instead of anger. The words didn't change. Your decision about their meaning did. This is how all your experiences work. The world presents you with raw materials, events, words, situations. But you are the one who decides what they mean. You are the one who grants them power. When you understand this, truly understand it, you realize that you have been the source of your own suffering all along, not because you wanted to be, but because you didn't know you had a choice. The practice is simple, though not easy. When something disturbs you, pause. Ask yourself, have I given this permission to affect me? Then withdraw that permission. See the event for what it is, a neutral circumstance, and choose your response deliberately rather than reacting automatically. At first, this will feel unnatural. You will forget often. Old patterns will reassert themselves, but with time, you will catch yourself more quickly. You will see the space between event and response more clearly, and eventually you will reach a state where nothing can shake you unless you decide it should. This is true freedom. Not freedom from circumstances, that is impossible, but freedom from being at the mercy of circumstances. When you master this, you become like the eye of a hurricane, complete stillness at the center, no matter how fierce the storm around you. The world will continue to present challenge. People will still behave as they do. Events will unfold beyond your control, but none of it will touch your core unless you allow it. This is the final truth, and the most liberating one. You are not at the world's mercy. You are, and always have been, the gatekeeper of your own peace. This isn't about pretending the world doesn't affect you. It's about realizing you're the one who decides what sticks. Build the wall, master the pause, choose silence, and watch how much lighter life feels when you're no longer carrying every storm inside you.